Welcome to the Restricted Handling Podcast. This is what's been going on in China in the past 24 hours. First up, Beijing's military leadership shuffle just got sharper. On Thursday, days before the March 4th opening of the two sessions, China's National People's Congress removed 9 senior military officials from its roster. This isn't a recycled headline from the broader purge we talked about before. This is a fresh wave with names attached. Ground Force Commander Li Qiaoming is out. Former Navy Commander Shen Jinlong, out. Navy Political Commissar Qin Shengxiang, Air Force Political Commissar Yu Zhongfu, Rocket Force Major General Yang Guang, and Information Support Force Political Commissar Li Wei also removed. 5 full generals among them. No detailed public explanation. Just the usual phrasing about serious violations of discipline and law. Now, we've already covered the broader thinning of the Central Military Commission and the turbulence in the Rocket Force. What's new here is the timing and the breadth. This move lands right before China unveils its next 5-year plan. That's not a coincidence. If you're Xi Jinping, you don't want uncertainty in your senior command bench walking into your biggest annual political stage event. And here's the subtle shift. This batch hits the Information Support Force, too. That's the unit responsible for cyber, space, and electronic integration, the connective tissue of modern warfare. So this isn't just about traditional land or missile leadership churn. It's touching the nervous system. While the internal house cleaning continues, externally, the PLA is running live drills that look less like routine patrols and more like rehearsals with props. Reuters revealed that since August, at least 23 flights by a long-endurance Chinese drone, believed to be a Winglong 2, have been broadcasting false aircraft identities. We're talking about spoofing the transponder codes of a Belarusian Il-62 cargo plane, a Royal Air Force Typhoon, even a North Korean passenger jet. In early August, during one of those flights, the drone reportedly switched identities multiple times mid-air over about 20 minutes. That's not fat fingers on a keyboard. That's testing deception mechanics. The flights originated from Hainan and tracked toward the Bashi Channel between Taiwan and the Philippines, near the Paracels and Scarborough Shoal. Star-shaped and hourglass patterns, surveillance profiles. Yesterday, we talked about China scaling hardware production, carriers, fighters, factories, adding millions of square feet. Today, this is about tactics. It's one thing to build jets. It's another thing to rehearse how you obscure them in a real-time environment. And the South China Sea remained busy this week. From February 23rd to 26th, the PLA Southern Theater Command conducted patrols and publicly accused the Philippines of disrupting stability. That came right after trilateral drills involving the Philippines, Japan, and the U.S. The Philippines deployed the Antonio Luna frigate and air assets. The U.S. sent the USS Dewey and a P-8 Poseidon. Japan contributed a P-3 Orion. Replenishment at sea, joint air patrols, flybys, interoperability in motion. China's response? Messaging plus presence. Not dramatic, just steady. Japan, for its part, is moving from rhetoric to infrastructure. Tokyo confirmed plans to deploy Type 3 Chu-SAM surface-to-air missile systems to Yonaguni Island by fiscal year 2030. Yonaguni sits roughly 70 miles from Taiwan. The system can track up to 100 targets and engage about a dozen simultaneously within about a 30-mile range. We've already discussed Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi's comments about Taiwan contingencies. This week's development is more concrete. Hardware timelines, facility upgrades underway. Beijing called the plan extremely dangerous. Tokyo calls it preparedness. Now, let's pivot to the digital battlefield, because that's where things get creative. Google and Mandiant disrupted a China-linked espionage campaign tracked as UNC 2814. This is an update on what we mentioned before, but here's the sharper detail. The malware, called GridTide, used Google Sheets as its command and control infrastructure. Yes, spreadsheets. The backdoor would check specific cells, like cell A1, for instructions, execute shell commands, then write reconnaissance data back into other cells. To network monitoring tools, it looked like normal cloud API traffic. No obvious exploit. No dramatic breach notification banner, just hiding in plain sight. At least 53 telecommunications and government organizations across 42 countries were impacted. Telecoms were primary targets. And if you're mapping networks, monitoring dissidents, or collecting metadata, telecom infrastructure is strategic gold. Separate but related, researchers identified more than 330 coordinated social media accounts pushing pro-Beijing narratives across multiple platforms. Targets included Takaichi during Japan's February 8th election, U.S. domestic fentanyl debates, and political discourse in the Philippines. And in mid-October, this is an important nuance, OpenAI reported that an individual linked to Chinese law enforcement attempted to use GPT models to help plan an online influence campaign targeting Takaichi. The models refused the requests. That's a sentence that would have sounded like science fiction 10 years ago. Now to the U.S. side of the ledger. On Wednesday, authorities arrested Gerald Eddie Brown Jr., a former Air Force major and F-35 instructor pilot. Prosecutors allege he began negotiating in August 2023 to train PLA Air Force pilots and traveled to China in December 2023, remaining there until February. Brown reportedly worked with Su Bin, who was convicted in 2016 for hacking U.S. defense contractors. The charge falls under the Arms Export Control Act. If the allegations hold, this wasn't just consulting advice. Brown had experience commanding units responsible for nuclear delivery systems. That's high-end operational knowledge. It's also not the first time we've seen Western pilots recruited, but every time it surfaces, it underscores how modernization isn't just about steel and silicon, it's about experience. And then there's the Middle East, where great power competition now includes commercial satellite transparency. Chinese satellite firm Mizar Vision released imagery showing 11 U.S. F-22 Raptors at Israel's Avda Air Base in the Negev Desert. Tracking data indicated 12 departed from Joint Base Langley Eustis, transited RAF Lakenheath, and 11 arrived after one returned due to a fuel issue. The images also showed what appears to be a Patriot missile battery positioned nearby. Stealth fighters under missile defense coverage amid elevated U.S.-Iran tensions. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called it a clear message to adversaries. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi warned of escalation. But the extra layer here isn't just the deployment. It's that a Chinese commercial satellite company put it on the global stage. Forward basing used to be a relatively quiet signal. Now it's Instagram, but with orbital sensors. Finally, on the economic side, the U.S. International Trade Commission announced it will investigate the impact of revoking China's permanent normal trade relations status, with findings due by August 21st. That's a procedural move, but potentially significant for tariff architecture. And the People's Bank of China moved to slow the yuan's recent appreciation after a 10-day rally, setting a weaker midpoint and adjusting foreign exchange risk reserves. Not dramatic, just calibration. Thanks for listening and being part of the RH community. Please take a moment to leave a 5-star review. If you want to see some changes, email us at info@restrictedhandling.com. We also publish a daily written intel brief on Substack, where you'll find even deeper coverage of Russia and China, along with insights on Iran, the Middle East, and the DPRK.